At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 350 plus programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Podcast, SEO, monetization tips for national businesses. If you have a podcast and you run a business, that's a win-win. If you run a podcast, that's a win. If you have a business, that's a win. But if you have a podcast and you have a business, that's a win-win. And Hazy, glad to see you here. Caesar, Stambo, and Mike, thank you for being here too. As well as Constance, thanks for being here as well. If you're listening in and you'd like to get a replay of this room, please click the top right where you can click on the three dots to save the replay, or you can now get in contact with me by clicking the link above so that you can get into receiving emails that will help you understand concepts like this that I'm talking about today. You can go to playinc.online, PLAYINC.online, or you can directly just click the link above and it'll take you there. Now, I've been doing this series for the last 3 days. The first day was local SEO, or rather local businesses to focus on podcast SEO for monetization. Yesterday, I talked about regional businesses. Today, I'm talking about national businesses. And tomorrow, God willing, I'll be talking about international businesses. So once I cover these four, then at the end of the day, it will be now for you to decide which business you're in, which region or which location or which setup would your business be in, for you to take this information and take the next step. Because as a business, when you have a podcast, your goal and your mission is to educate, it's to inform. When you have a radio show, it's because people are listening in because you have something to say that's of value to them. So when you have a podcast and you want to monetize, your goal as a foundational business is to know if you are even registered within the podcast sphere, within the podcast ecosystem. How do you find that out? Their website you can go to, pod.link, you can go to ivy.fm, you can go to listennotes.com. These are platforms that you can use today. And for free, check to see if your website is there, if your podcast is there. That doesn't mean that if it's there, that's the end of the story. Being there is just for you to position yourself so that when you're growing, that is also growing with you simultaneously. Now, when you have a business, welcome Carmen and Stephanie. When you have a business, your business is for the purpose of giving people information, let people learn more about you, about what you do, about how you connect to people. But at the same time, your goal is serving, right? So if you're going to serve an audience with information, then this information is going to be so valuable to them that they would want to come back for more. And how do they come back for more? It's because you give them the same information every time. Now, there are different ways you can monetize, especially as a business. And I'm going to give you the profit opportunity, and I'll also give you the accessibility as far as what it looks like, right? There are many ways to monetize, but I'll focus on 3 so I don't overwhelm you. And you're able to now use this 3 and say, okay, is it A, is it B, is it C? Or is it 1, is it 2, is it 3? It's easier for you to pick that in a mini, mini, mo than trying to figure out 10 options within one cycle. So looking at the monetization piece today for national businesses, I've covered titles, I've covered formats, I've covered how do you position yourself online, where do you connect yourself online. I just did an audit of a podcast show that has been on for the last 4 years now. Great show, doing very well. And I looked at their website, looked at their podcast, and I noticed some things that need to be looked into that could be changed, which will help the business, because they focus on different businesses within different areas, allowing them to have dominance as the authority. So if somebody's going to look for a business service or business insights, then they should be able to rank and also be able to be the authority in that niche because they have dominance based on the content they're delivering. So if your content delivery network is not within a high signal, it's going to be hard for you to retain people, retain information, retain content, retain stamina, retain sustainability. So that is a big focus to drive into. So when you think about how to monetize as a podcast, you first have to pick the platform of choice. That's the first way to monetize. Pick the platform of choice. Is it going to be IAB certified? Right? That means Interactive Advertising Bureau certified. Is it going to be certified in a way that allows your business to receive ads within your network? That's one question. Is the platform even known for that? If it's not known for that, welcome, Bo. If it's not known for that, then it's going to be hard for you to track that back. So the goal and the idea is to build a platform where you can have your podcast on, and then from there, you can start to advertise to different people or different platforms based on your specific RSS feed, which stands for really simple syndication. So when you have your RSS feed, that is going to be what's going to be feeding into different platforms. When you talk about monetization, you're talking about depth. You're talking about width. You're talking about you're talking about the long-term effect of creating consistent content that allows someone to come back to you a week later, a month later, a year later, even a quarter later, because that's going to be something that's very important. Welcome, Akuche. So you think about your business and ask yourself, okay, I'm running a business. Am I successful in my business? During the high peak seasons, am I well known in my business, or am I well known in my area? Because we think about marketing, we throw the word out like it's a grain of salt, but think about the big word is market. A market is big, and within a market, a lot of activity is going on. So how do you streamline your market to pay attention into those things? Welcome, Eileen. So you create this by knowing what platform you want to choose. Once you know the platform of choice, the next thing is to look at your website, because you're a national business, right? So if you have a business and you're located in one state or a couple of states, we talked about regional yesterday. If you're in different areas or different cities or different places, it's within the country, and you're looking at dominance, one of the things that's going to even play a big role, and this is something that is so underrated. It is super underrated, and you'd be like, oh, that's true. This is it. The most underrated feature within a podcast is the language option. The language option. Because when you have a podcast, your podcast is in a language codec, right? It's in a language format. So if your podcast is Spanish or Danish or English or French or Mandarin, whatever the language is, it's going to be within your sitemap, which is in the form of an RSS feed, which is formatted for podcasts. Just like you have a JPEG and a PDF, those are two different platforms or two different extensions, right? So that's the same thing that applies to your podcast. So when you have an RSS feed and the language is in English, United States, and you're a national business that's operating in the United States, that's a good thing for you, because that also puts you within that bracket in the algorithm. So it's really underrated, but I just wanted to mention that so you don't just skip it, right? You can choose English too, but when you're choosing the language, make sure that language is the language you want to connect with people based on the nation you're connecting with, right? English would be number one, and then another language would be another one, or another language might be primary and English is secondary. So it has to be also focused on that, because when you think about national businesses, you're talking about national languages. You can't ignore nation and language go together. So when you look at your podcast and you start realizing your podcast is gaining momentum, then this momentum is going to be something that people are going to see in their country, right? If it's within the US, which states, which cities, which areas, which zip codes, which counties, which districts, where are you getting listened to the most? Do people drive while they listen to you? Do they walk? Somebody told me 2 days ago, I got an email, and thank you so much for listening, that he listens to the podcast when he's doing a 45-minute walk. And by the time he's done with his walk, the podcast show is still going on, or it's done, and time has just gone by so fast that where did time go? So you really think about it long term and ask yourself, where would you want to be a month from now, a quarter from now, a year from now, a demi-decade from now, a decade from now? When you start looking at these numbers and you start noticing that you have content and your content can actually turn into evergreen content, it's better, because all the social media posts that you're creating today could be obsolete tomorrow. Welcome, Mark, Moonside, and Ross, Stephanie, good to see you here too. So your content could be obsolete tomorrow because people have moved on to the next reel, or to the next story, or to the next content pillar. But if you're going to remain evergreen, then you're not looking at impressions, you're not looking at reach, you're not looking at all this great stuff, which is important. You're looking at intention. Search intent. That is the way for 2026. Search intent. If I'm going to look for how to tie a tie, I may not tie that tie till the day I want to tie the tie, and that time might not be the same time that you're thinking that I'm going to tie it. So how do you determine or create a metric that says because I did this is going to create that? No. But if you turn that into, here are the top 10 ties you can wear with your silk outfit or with your tuxedo, now you're being more specific because somebody has an interest in matching something that is of intelligence and of intent to them. That's where the difference comes in. So when you now have content on your website, you have content on your podcast, you have content within your transcript as you're speaking, these words are words that are coming back and they're actually turning into life. There's power in the tongue. It's biblical too. So if there's power in the tongue and you speak life into your podcast, you speak into your day, you speak into your situation, you speak into a solution, you speak into a problem that turns into a solution, then that's because you spoke life into it. If you say, I am strong, then you are strong. No one can tell you otherwise because that's what you said you are. So when you say those words and you put those words into action, we always say words and action, words and action. Yeah, this is the action time. The action is the words responding back to you in real time. Because when you have a business and you sell something as a national business, now you start realizing people start listening to you in specific areas. Now, if you want to monetize, look at your data and say, okay, in the last 3 months or in the last, let's say year to date, right? Today is January 20th, right? It's also my grandma's 93rd birthday. Happy birthday, Grandma. So you look at the time from January 1st through January 20th, right? You can see that within 20 days, a lot of data has been accumulated. A lot of articles have been written. A lot of podcast shows have started. So now your question is, what are people searching for in January? In some places it's cold. Some places it's cold. Some people need a jacket. Some people need a sweater. Some people need a hoodie. Some people need socks. Some people need marshmallows. Like, it's so broad that if you just look into your product and see the semantics around it and see what could synonymously, simultaneously connect with your brand, as a business, then it's going to be great for you, because if you have a podcast and you have a year-to-date analytical scale, and you can see that in the last 20 days, the top 5 cities that are listening to your podcast are A, B, C, D, E. Now, when you know all these 5, you can go back and wonder, why are they listening to me at this time? Where are they listening to me? And when I publish my podcast, what day of the week are they gaining the most availability? You might have my undivided attention on Monday, but you probably don't have any time for me on Friday. So how am I going to know that? The only way I'm going to decide or know or even factor that in is by testing. So if I know and I've done my research and I know that Monday afternoon is a better time or Wednesday midnight is a better time, then I can put it out in those sequences. And when I start noticing spikes or dips, you start making those annotations. So by the time you realize, as you keep doing that, you now know where in the city you want to connect with brand-wise. If you have an influencer, if you want to connect with a person that's in the state, if in the city, somebody who is going to represent your brand well, those are platforms you can do. Bring them to your show. If you don't have a show, try and bring them into a place where they can connect with you on a social platform, and then look for a podcast show that can also highlight and document it. Why am I using a podcast? Because the same way people use blogs to document information, which is transcribed or in text format, is the same way you can use a blog. And back then it was called audio blogging. You just took out the audio and it's a blog with text. But the same context can be transcribed from an audio. And that's where you can use audio response loops to create your business and have a much friendly output. Because when you create content, the reason why you're monetizing it is because you want to gain awareness. You want to represent your brand. You want to partner with the brand. Oh, this podcast is sponsored by this and that. Because it's been sponsored and people hear those words, you don't have to talk about what that company is or what this company is. You've already said what this and that is. So by the time they're going to do their research, you've done your part. Now, because you've affiliated in that way, because the show notes are also going to have SEO attached to it, meaning that you're creating anchored text that's linking back to your website or the website that you're referring to when you mention it, is going to be a vocal and a contextual response. That's a checkmate, because at that point, you've mentioned it, somebody can read it, and they can click on it. Now, when they're able to do those 3 things and there's a response loop, whatever time of the day, if I'm going to look at it on Monday and you're going to look at it on Saturday, either way, within a 7-day loop, I've been able to get the most information about what my podcast episodes were about. So if I dropped 7 episodes in 7 days, and I know that out of these 7, here are the top 3, then I'm going to use the next week and do the next 3, but I'll double it down and focus on those specific topics. It's not hard. There's really no rules with podcasting. I'm doing this because I've learned how to do it. 600 episodes in. This is my year 7, 160 plus countries listening in. We're in our season 12 now. And podcasting has been a beautiful thing to do just because I've connected with so many people all over the world. And also Clubhouse too. That's how I got on Clubhouse, because I started a podcast in 2019, August 12th, joined Clubhouse November 24th, 2020. So from then, I've always been connecting with people, still doing the podcast, still connecting people on the app, off the app. And it's beautiful. We connect on LinkedIn, we connect on Zoom, we connect in person, we connect for coffee. It's beautiful because we're able to see these things long term. So as a business, if you're nationally thinking about how can I create a business with a podcast, here's your route or here's your route, because this is international. This is national based. This is regional based. This is local based. Wherever you are in the world, you're going to think about your business and ask yourself, does my business need my podcast? Because imagine if you have your own business, right? And you talk about, let's say you're in 30 locations in the country, just a random example, and you have 30 episodes, and each episode is talking about one city. And each of those cities have specific needs because you're fulfilling those needs based on the different information that you got. So now you're creating episodes like FAQs that's going to help those cities learn more about you. So whenever you send an email, a newsletter, a social post, something of that nature, you can still link it back to your website, to your podcast, so that if somebody wants to hear you talk about it, or you've mentioned it before, it's available for them to see it. You can say, hey, go to this podcast episode, I talked about this. So if you want to think about monetization tips, it will work. And the beautiful thing about podcasting is you're planting for tomorrow, because the words that you say today is what you're going to reap tomorrow. That's podcasting. If I talk about something today, in the next 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, 365 days, and beyond, the podcast that I mentioned about topic A or B, if somebody is interested in that topic and they want to learn about it and they find you and they connect with you, and it's a podcast, and within that podcast, you have your social media, you have your search index, you have your business profile, you have your credentials, you have your links, you have your resources, you have all the things in place. Somebody can now trust you even higher, even more than you running ads at them every day. If I said, hey, listen to my episode every day, you're most likely going to listen to one or two, if that's what you came in for and if that's of interest to you. But if I say, here's my product every day, or here's my business card every day, there's a different way you're going to respond back, because now it feels like, what else am I going to look at after I'm done looking at your business card? Okay, I've seen the product. Okay, and then what? Okay, I bought it. Okay, then what? But when you're listening to a podcast, you're listening to how the person is responding to questions. You're listening to how the person is understanding the concept. The more they're able to look at you and say, this person understands what they're saying, it's easy for you to have a conversation, because you know that the person's not playing gimmicks. If you hear the person flipping pages when they're talking, then you know that they're probably reading off a script or cutting a page off a book to say the same thing. But never will you ever hear a page on my at all. You won't hear anything flip or turn, because I always turn on the microphone and I'm just speaking from what I've learned. Clients that we've worked with, businesses we've interacted with. And these are all different experiences, from millions of pages to thousands of pages to tens of pages to page 1 and 2. So it's very important to look at these things and ask yourself, as a business, what are you going to look into and where you're going to be in the next few years? Welcome, Dominic, Ayodeji, and Zubechi. Thank you for being here too. So I want to break this down so you can also hear this. When it comes to monetization, I talked about 3 different platforms, or 3 different, not really platforms really, but monetization methods you can use. So 1 is advertisements, 2 is sponsorships, 3 is subscriptions. I'll say that again. 1 is advertisements, 2 is sponsorships, and 3 is subscriptions. Now with advertisements, that's what I was talking about, the IAB certified. You have to be on a podcast hosting platform that allows that. And there are platforms that do allow that based on podcast compliance. So you can find those and they're available. I've talked about it before, so I'm sure you've probably heard of this before. But if not, click the link above and you'll get that information so you can learn more about it whenever you want to do your research, and I can give you a head start. When you create your content, think about where it's going to be, because there are platforms that will not allow you to run ads. Some of them you can choose, some of them you can't. Like for me, I'm on the Amazon network, right? That's where my podcast is. Shout out to Art19. That's where my podcast is, right? Some people, they might be on other platforms, right? Which are available. And some of them may be IAB certified. Some of them may not be IAB certified. I did my research. You can do your research. We can do our research together, because at the end of the day, sharing is caring. And if we're able to know more, we can do better when we know better. So looking at advertisements is one platform that you can use for monetization. The accessibility is high, right? It's open to people, but the profit is low. Now that's the difference. It may not be as high as you think it is, but it's also not as low as you think it could be, right? It's just lower than the other two, right? Because advertisements is based on, we have an ad, we're running for the weekend, or we got a sale, or we got a festival, or we got an event, or this person's coming, oh, okay, we got a pop-up, oh, we got this, we got that. It's always going to be sporadic or scheduled based on the activity of the day, and also based on the times and seasons. So yes, you get high activity, you get high accessibility, but you don't really get high conversion, but you get high awareness. And that's good because now the ball is in your court. So it's a good way to also think about it as a podcast. Don't just think about the bottom line. Think about everything from top of the line down all the way to the bottom. So when you're looking at these things, you're also able to now diversify your portfolio. The second one is sponsorships. Accessibility is pretty low. So if I say, hey, here's a 99 cents, audio guide, some people would get it. Some people may say, I'd rather just stick to the free. I don't need the 99 cents. That's somebody's decision, and you cannot change that decision for them, right? That's what they decided. So at the end of the day, when you start thinking about where you're monetizing and how you're monetizing, look at the niche, look at the market, look at your psychographics, look at your demographics, look at your social graphics, look at the pest analysis, look at your SWOT analysis, look at the things that you're supposed to see that will let you know, okay, within my marketing, where am I positioned? Am I positioned as a leader? Am I positioned as an emerging market? Am I positioned? Where am I? So these are some things to look into. Are you in competition? Are you out of competition? Are you even within the range of competition? So those are some things to factor in when you're thinking about these options, right? You can do $9 a month. You can do however dollars you want or whatever currency you want, right? The profit here is moderate. It's not as low as advertisements, but it's enough because if you have sponsorships and people are, connecting with you, you're reading scripts, those are good things. You can make a really good amount. With advertisements, it's anywhere between like $10, $15 to about $30 when it comes to the CPM. Yeah, that's based on advertisements. But when you think about sponsorships, it could be anywhere from like $25, $30 all the way to $45, $50, maybe $40 on a good day, right? Because if you're looking at the benchmark, these are platforms that you're looking at per CPM, right? So the higher the CPM, the higher the potential. Now, the last one that is really good is subscriptions, which is different from sponsorships, right? Sponsorships, you're focusing on audience, you're focusing on niche, you're focusing on specific information, and you're saying, hey, this is what's going on. It's this type of day. Check this out, and then you're able to see that because it's in the context of the information that's being given at that time. If I say Happy New Year in September, you're going to look at me crazy because you'll be like, what are you talking about? So it has to make sense. There has to be a timeline in place as well. Welcome, G. So you think about those things long term and ask yourself, where am I going to be, right? The next thing is subscriptions. So subscriptions is better if you decide to do it that way. And a good way you can think about subscriptions is either private podcasting, which is possible, private RSS feed, or you can have the public RSS feed, right? The public one is what everyone gets to. Your famous Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, music. You can use all these tools for free because they're podcasts. Podcast is free, right? But now the private side is where you now have subscriptions. So when you have these subscriptions, people can now find these subscriptions and now connect back to you. Because you have a public podcast, you can say, hey, for more exclusive information like this, go to this website or click the link to access it. And then you have subscriptions. You either have a swag bag or you have a community or you have a forum or you have a meetup, whatever it is, the floor is yours. You can do anything you want to do. So the goal is just to make sure that you have a long-term and a long-standing platform that gives you the best response over time when it comes to creating these things. So advertisements are good, right? But you also want to have sponsorships and subscriptions that will help you gain more, right? I've talked about this before. If you're a business and you do training, have a place where people can learn about your business without having to see an ad every time. They can go to a podcast and hear how you discuss, or maybe some solutions that you solved for the day, or you could discuss about how you guys brainstorm together. It could be anything, right? You just want to make sure that you're creating that effect. And sometimes you may say, okay, now I got the podcast, then what? There are different styles. You can do solo, you can do interview, you can do co-host, you can do roundtable, which is 3 or more. You can do theme or faceless. You can do anything you want to do. But as long as it's your content, your intellectual property, and your business with your voice on it, with your name on it, then you can definitely do a lot of good things. So I wanted to just break this down for you. And I feel like I covered a lot in local. I covered a bunch in regional, and now I've captured a couple of points here in national, and then international would be a little bit smaller because you can be able to, go down the list. So if you have any questions, now is the time to put it in the chat or raise your hand. Let me know before we go. But I wanted to make sure that this information was relayed and it's understood so that you can learn more about how you can monetize your business with a podcast. Podcast SEO is not hard. You just have to think about the title, the author, the podcast title, description, episode title, description, podcast art cover, episode art cover. Once you cover all those areas, then you'll be in good shape and you'll be in definitely a good run for your business. So I don't see any questions, and I feel like all hearts and minds are clear. Thank you for being here, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being here as well. Taliban Youngin, thanks for being here. It's been a while. Great to see you as well. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. Listen to a replay, or you can even click the link above where you'll now get access to getting an audit from me, and I'll send you a recording where you can see your website through my lens, and I'll tell you what's going on from the outside looking in, and that way you can now tell me what you need to do next for your business. So it's definitely something I'd love to do for you, and you get a free audit, the first one, and then once we look at everything and we want to implement it, then you can look at the report card and tell me what you want to do next with it, and we'll give you options to make sure we can customize it and scale it the way you want it to go. So once you click the link above, you can now get redirected to get on a call with me. Schedule a call with me. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk for 30 minutes and really get it going. Sometimes we might even get to 45 minutes because I want to make sure that the call is worth your time and you can have something to think about, because you'll have the recording as you go and you'll be able to learn more about how your business can do better in the near future with the operations and the systems you already have in place. So thank you, Stephanie, Dominic, Taliban, thank you for being here. Z and Ross, appreciate every one of you. And God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. Happy Taco Tuesday for those who love tacos. So enjoy your day. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye for now. If you have reached this point of the episode, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show. I hope this has helped you, given you some insight, because every time I come on here or anytime I bring somebody on here, a guest, a speaker, anyone that is of relevance to you listening is always going to give you educational value, definitely entertainment value, and most importantly, empowerment value. So thank you for listening to the We Don't Play podcast show every day. And if you want to reach out to me, you know where to find me. Click the links in the description or go to info@playinc.online, info@playinc.online, and book a call. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk SEO. Let's talk marketing. Let's talk business. Let's talk scaling. And I look forward to meeting you and learning more about you and your business. Till we meet in the next episode, have a blessed evening. Have a blessed day, night, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye for now. And don't forget, Jesus loves you.